Earlier today, the SABC team doorstopped former President Jacob Zuma at the ANC's conference, asking him about his private prosecution of President Cyril Ramaphosa.
To the court action, Mr. President.
Please?
The court action.
No, can't talk about that. I'm not a lawyer. What's your problem?
Well, I'm just asking.
You must have heard things.
We've heard it, we've seen it.
This is what you must believe in.
Mr. President,
which commission?
An interview, just a very quick interview.
I was saying, I'm not an important person.
You're a very
There are
important
people here.
Everybody is important.
The thing is, as a delegate, you remember?
No, I'm a delegate. I'm under my leaders.
Yeah.
From my region, from my province.
Yeah.
I'm a very disciplined guy.
Yeah.
I listen to my leaders.
Okay, but when I was getting the very short one.
They haven't asked me to talk. They will tell me if they say, now is your time to go and talk to these guys. Then I will have a mandate to talk to you guys.
Is Mr. Ramaphosa coming back?
Huh?
Is he coming back as president?
I absolutely don't know. Nothing. See you.
Thank you.
The conviviality can be translated in so many different ways. And those who know better are there on the ground at Nasrec in southern Johannesburg. And my colleague Bongiwe Zwane is standing by, along with Kani Mapanga, our roving reporter. And Kani, I want to start with you first. Seeing as we've just heard that clip from Jacob Zuma, of course he was asked about Cyril Ramaphosa. The last day in terms of action and response on that private prosecution. I'm getting my P's mixed up tonight.
Indeed, Iman. Good evening to you and the viewers at home. As voting continues, we understand it's about 5 provinces that have completed the voting, and President Ramaphosa as well as Zweli Mkhize are vying for the top spot. On the sidelines of this ANC 55th National Conference is this private prosecution bid by former President Jacob Zuma. His spokesperson joined the agenda earlier this morning, remaining firm in his stance that they were going to continue with this bid. There was a 5 o'clock deadline, and they also stated that the only place that the president can set aside this private prosecution bid is in a competent court of law. For the purposes of time, I am going to bring in the official spokesperson for the president, Mr. Vincent Magwenya, to unpack this further with us. Thank you for joining us on Full View, Mr. Magwenya. I want to touch on a couple of things that have been spoken about regarding this private prosecution that you have dismissed as something that isn't valid. Zweli, when he went onto the agenda this morning, said there was a confusion between state resources in this personal matter. That is how he described it. His question is, why is the official spokesperson involved in a private criminal matter? Do you have a response to that?
Well, our position still stands on the validity or lack thereof of the action itself, as well as the summon. Secondly, the matter that they are raising, or the initial complaint that Mr. Zuma submitted to the president, that submission sought the president's intervention as a head of state. It was a complaint with respect to the conduct of 2 advocates that serve the National Prosecuting Agency. The request was for the president to intervene. That intervention will have been carried under the laws that guide the work that the president does. The president then referred the matters, and we've repeated this several times, referred the matter to the Minister of Justice and Correctional Services, requested him to refer the issue to the LPC. So I think they are confused on their side. There's no confusion on our side. When there was a correspondence exchange between Mr. Zuma and the president, that correspondence came from the office of the president, signed by the president. As to how they come to the distinction of the personal side versus the office of the president, I'm actually not quite clear as to how do they arrive at that. As to what sort of intervention were they seeking then by writing to the office of the president. So they will have to clarify their own confusion. That's not for us to clarify their confusion. our understanding of the matter is that they sought an intervention from a head of state. There was an intervention which they have not approved of. Hence now this sort of spurious and unfounded charge that they are championing.
Without getting into the merits of the matter, the 5 o'clock deadline has passed that the foundation did give the state attorney. Is it safe to assume that you will be challenging the validity of this document in a court of law?
Of course, if they don't meet our deadline and if they don't come to the party with respect to the demand that we've put to them to withdraw this summons and withdraw this action, then the necessary processes will ensue. I won't get into the details of those processes, but there will be steps that will be taken, not only with regards to protecting the image of the office of the president, but also to just set the record straight in terms of the kind of procedural steps that have to be followed when you engage this sort of processes, and to also put it on record that these processes are not to be abused for nefarious reasons as well as political motives.
This private prosecution didn't affect the president's contestation, but should the president emerge victorious in his official capacity, should the ANC win elections, does this bid have any impact on anything going forward, knowing that it could take a long time for this to be finalized?
It's a matter of principle. It's a matter of legal principle. So regardless of what happens behind us in terms of ongoing political processes that are taking place here at Nasrec, the president will nonetheless continue to exercise his rights for as long as this action remains and for as long as the validity of this action remains questionable. The president will continue to exercise his rights in that regard.
And what are the president's thoughts? I mean, just speaking to him on this private prosecution bid that is just simply not going away at this point. They've refused to withdraw. They're speaking of meeting in court on the 19th of January 2023. What is the president thinking when he sees these summons? What is going through his mind?
It's a minor irritant and distraction. That's all that it is. He's got bigger issues to focus on. He's right in the middle of a very important milestone in the calendar of the governing party. It's a very important milestone in South Africa. The entire world is watching as processes are unfolding. He has to put his best foot forward in terms of the political report that he delivered, in focusing on a positive outcome coming out of this conference. This is just a minor sideshow that does not occupy his time or energy.
All right, thank you so much. That was Mr. Magwenya, the spokesperson, official spokesperson to the president, dismissing this private prosecution bid as just a minor distraction. Over to you in studio, Bongiwe.
All right, our reporter Kenny Mapanga, they're in conversation with the president's spokesperson, Vincent Magwenya.